There is a fight taking place between the two great powers on Earth right now, but not a direct fight. That would be World War III, to be honest. No. Instead, also, the theatre of that fight is not what you would expect. It is Nigeria, one of Africa's largest economies, hey, and the anchor of West Africa in particular. And this is where the great powers are actually duking it out indirectly.
She breathed and tides learned how to bend. Stars are the dust she shook from sleep. Each galaxy a hem she mends.
Dear brothers and sisters, did you notice that ever since Nigerians started keeping a particular group of people from a certain neighboring nation at arm's length, our global image have taken a positive turn? Go and check online very carefully. Alright, dear brothers and sisters, this is not why we're here today. Nigeria is a key player in the world market. Dear brothers and sisters, there are so many reasons that other nations try their best to fight you. They are not fighting or attacking you because you committed crime or because you are a fraudster. No, if that is it, they will tackle you individually, personally, just the way we deal with them in this nation. However, they are after your image. They are at silent war or diplomatic war with you because of what you carry as the bloodline of Nigeria. It is called sabotage, demarketing, destroying your reputation, and spreading an evil propaganda which they coined in their backyard that the world hates Nigerians. Now go and check the platforms on social media. You will realize that the Asians, the Australians, the Oceanians, the Americans, the Europeans, none do go online to type that the world hates Nigerians. No. Kindly check the typists. You will see that they are from two major nations, but mostly championed by our neighbor. It is an agenda. They are everywhere behind the keyboard, on their phone, amongst people, waiting for any opportunity to discredit you because they know. But many of my brothers and sisters, due to our self-destructive or self-immolating personalities, we do not look at what we have. Let me explain. You see, this topic is very interesting because the analyzer does not really dwell on Nigerian topics. These people follow and understand world outlook and its alignment. I don't want you to take a seat. Let us analyze this properly. But dear brothers and sisters, before we do that, I want you to share this video to everyone you know.
There is a fight taking place between the two great powers on Earth right now, but not a direct fight. That would be World War III, to be honest. No. Instead, also, the theatre of that fight is not what you would expect. It is Nigeria, one of Africa's largest economies, hey, and the anchor of West Africa in particular. And this is where the great powers are actually duking it out indirectly. Nigeria takes center stage for us today. So you may know Nigeria to be the largest economy in West Africa and an oil producer. That's why America's here.
Many foreigners, especially those in a Southern African region, will rush to toot their horn that they are higher. Well, you are higher in GDP only on paper, which doesn't even make sense. Yes, it started appearing that way when Nigeria floated its currency to stabilize the economy. Now, get it clear. Your currency to dollar value is not a major decision maker in the economy of a nation. It is a game by America. Nigeria understood the game because weaker nations played into Americans' cage by depleting their reserve just to stay or keep their head above the water. Meanwhile, they are becoming bankrupt and running to borrow more, becoming weaker and weaker while presenting a mirage currency that appear good in the eyes of the public. Nigeria played that game with them before. However, Nigeria was done with the games, decided to put on the oxygen mask, dropped the dilapidated currency parachute and went below the waters. Gradually, Nigeria is stabilizing its economy, maintaining and even increasing its reserves, paying debts, strengthening financial markets and attracting investors both locally and internationally. The stocks are rising. The infrastructural developments and tech are on the rise in this nation. And not just that, the purchasing power of Nigeria ranked as one of the best in the world.
And one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, on the continent. And the whole continent is growing quite fast, so it's not bad. Not bad being one of the fastest amongst the fastest. And I'm not talking about Usain Bolt and running, though they're really good at that as well. You'd be right to think of Nigeria as an important country because of their potential, because of their trajectory, because of their population, their economic size, and because of where they are in Africa, where relatively speaking, they're really doing well compared to some of their neighbors. But I want to talk about the geopolitics, which most people won't be talking about. The geopolitics of how China and America are wrestling for power and influence over the key player in the future of a much stronger, much more capable Africa. But first, the news. A senior rebel leader from the group IS, which stands for Islamic State, was taken out. The leader was taken out. Though I have to point out the majority of bodies of Muslims anywhere on earth, including the scholars, the clerics, and the citizenry, do not consider Islamic State to be an acceptable interpretation of Islam. They're not following what is Islam, even if they're called Islamic State. It's like calling a brick a donut. Like, you can call it a donut. This brick, what's it called? It's called a donut brick. Okay, fine. Why is it called a donut? I like donuts. Okay. But it's not like a donut at all. That's right. Okay, that's Islamic State for you there, right? So, IS, the leader of their West Africa operations, he's been taken out, unalived, listed on the stock market, as the Chinese euphemism goes. Abu Bilal al-Minuki was taken out along with some of his senior lieutenants. There's a British way of saying lieutenants. Where? Well, in the Lake Chad Basin area of Borno State, Nigeria. His death comes as part of a joint coordinated attack by the Nigerian military and the United States military. Now, 90% is an interesting stat. 90% of IS, Islamic State activities, are now taking place in sub-Saharan Africa. That means Africa below the Sahara Desert. And this is a big deal. 90%, brother. Out of the globe. That's a huge amount, right? That's basically all of their IS activities. So this rebel leader to be taken out of the picture is a big deal, not just for Nigeria, but arguably for all of West Africa, right? Other nations like Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. You might know them from some of my previous videos. They will likely, potentially also be affected by this.
Now you know. You see, all the smaller nations in Africa shouting, oh, insecurity in Nigeria, this and that. Listen, you cannot face 1/5 of the insecurity battles in Nigeria and survive. I would say that Nigeria is really fighting what we call insurgency. Not insecurity the way some people think about it. We are fighting insurgency. We are fighting terrorism. Insecurity in Nigeria is not a Nigerian problem. It is a base problem due to the operations of the terrorists in sub-Saharan Africa. So some are being tipped via political brouhaha, some are religious extremists on a mission. I give kudos to the Nigerian military. What they are doing is commendable. Now, the recent kidnapping, especially that of your children, was as a result of the role that Nigeria played in arresting the heads of the Taliban or terrorists who likely are wanted by the international community. They demanded no money ransom, but an exchange of their men for the kidnapped children. Well, their request was impossible because releasing those Taliban is putting the world in danger. And to rescue the children and the teachers, the Nigerian military approached this deadly mission with a high precision, high intelligence driven strategy. Do you know that the Nigerian military even went after the families of these Talibans and abducted their families? Yes. Go and read the news. It was aura for aura because that was another way. That was a strategy. Watch Nigeria and international mainstream channels and you will see how the Nigerian military successfully carried out the rescue operation. Stop dwelling on propaganda blogs and channels driven by politicking and tribalistic propaganda.
Now, Nigeria's government announced the high-value takeout was achieved through recon and intelligence sharing with the United States in coordination with them, and it resulted in an operation that resulted in 0 casualties or loss of assets on the Nigerian side. That is good deal, man. Give me some more of that. Is that South African accent? I don't know. It's a big win for them, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Nigeria says this demonstrates the growing cooperation between Nigerian forces and American intelligence and support elements is a thing. They're doing well working together. And I want to note here that Nigeria has been careful in trying to navigate America's offer of support by making it clear that help is welcome, but that Nigeria will be leading things in Nigeria. I lead, you follow, America can support but not take charge. That was the agreement. That was the hope. That was the condition on which Nigeria accepted American support. It would seem, as one of Africa's rising stars, as they grow in capability, as their influence grows in value to other countries like America and China, they want to move away from the old colonial model of Western world leads, Africa follows. They want to upend that and say, on African soil, we know our nation, our continent, our country. We don't need you to lead us. You can support us. You have some advantages, but don't think you can take the lead. That seems to be the framing of the Nigerian state, and they're doing it well so far. That's the news. That's what's happened. Right?
Now, this attribute of Nigeria is referred to as the stubborn bull. Nigeria is like a female or male Sigma, while America and China drags the alpha role. Nigeria doesn't care. They don't cowardly obey. If you want to help them, that's okay, but it will be on their own terms. That is Nigeria for you. If you want to do business with them, it will definitely be on their own terms. Nigeria is seen as stubborn nations who bows to no one, and most times the alpha players see it as insubordination and a threat to their aggressive quest in the world market, and therefore they try their best to dampen the faith of people in Nigeria, and they use the weakness of Nigeria in Africa, and that is the Efulefu brothers and sisters from neighboring nations, to achieve their goals by feeding off the betrayal nature and the bitterness of these people against Nigeria and Nigerians. But it is what it is. If you want to mingle with Nigeria, you will play by our rules.
Now here's the juicy part, here's the analysis, because this is where China comes in. China's also in Nigeria, but not fighting the bad guys. China's investing in the economy. They're fighting other bad guys by the name of poverty. Chinese companies are taking on Nigerian infrastructure projects, railways, for example, spanning the sizable West African nation and interconnecting their regions and cities. If there's anything the flipping Chinese know how to build well, it's railways, let's be honest. Chinese companies have shares and work on developing Nigerian oil extraction capabilities, tech transfers between the Chinese state and the Nigerian state, or more specifically, the Chinese companies that the state allows to work with Nigerian companies and the Nigerian state. There's a tech transfers to make Nigerian oil extraction more efficient. Chinese companies, furthermore, are deeply integrated into Nigeria's telecommunication infrastructure, that Wi-Fi, that 5G, 4G, all the Gs, right? All Gs, right? Chinese tech giant Huawei is behind all that. Their infrastructure is the backbone of Nigeria's internet services. So, Nigeria is special because their current government are trying to capitalize on the world shifting into multipolarity, and the decision they've made is, I'm not going to link myself exclusively to one of the great powers or try to stay completely detached, as impractical as that sounds. They're trying to partner up with both great powers and promise them influence in Nigeria and therefore influence in Africa as a whole. But they're trying to be sly about it. They're giving each great power influence in different facets. You see, Nigeria has turned to each great power based on what that great power is perceived to be specialized at. America for intelligence and recon and military. Recon meaning reconnaissance, like information gathering, right? That's something the US has spent decades refining through wars and campaigns. So Nigeria leans on them for security support, trying to stabilize their nation and weaken rebel groups operating in West Africa overall, and therefore having a knock-on effect on security and more investment, because if your country is secure, more investors come and they invest. And Nigeria is working with America for that. And for economy, they've turned to the other great power that they think is better for economy, infrastructure, manufacturing, etc., China, who's basically run away with the whole infrastructure industry thing, right? Globally, they're OP. Now, Nigeria, if they can benefit from both powers and supercharge their own nation's growth, they may become a blueprint for how other nations can act on this, in this unstable, you could say, age of multipolarity. Other established, relatively powerful regional powers across the globe could one day turn to Nigeria and say, that's how we should do it. They're doing it quite well. Can we do that? That's how we navigate the age of multipolarity, the age of the eagle and the dragon. We will do that. Let's copy Nigeria because they're doing a damn good job balancing the two great powers, extracting value from each and prioritizing their own nation. Can Nigeria do it well enough to become the playbook for success? I don't know. Time will tell.
So Nigeria took in America for intelligence and recon, And they took in China for financial investments. Listen, that is wisdom. This is why I continually say it. Dear Nigerians, this is our nation. If we look carefully, we will realize that we are heading straight to global stability. The only hinge or obstacle that we have are some of us. This is why it is important to share good narratives to others.